Hey everyone, it's David West here. We're gonna get started in a sec. I'm just getting a couple last things set up here, so just give us a sec. Enjoy the beautiful tunes of Pixel Recall. Thank you for letting me use this there, Pixel. Appreciate that a lot. And I'll be back in 2 seconds here. Okay, let's get this show on the road. Oh wow, I like how the music just kicks it up a notch right away, eh? Just a little pinch. But speaking of the music, let's get my camera in the right spot. That's also a good thing I should probably prep. Hello there, Internet. And welcome to Script Unscripted, a show where we go off and do some coding. It's my imitation of MatPat. If you don't know who he is, that's fine. He's an awesome YouTube streamer guy, or YouTube guy, that kind of got me wanting to do this kind of thing. Anyway, welcome to Script Unscripted. My name is David West, so thank you for joining me tonight. It's always a good time, and it's going to be a great time because tonight we are doing some really cool stuff. More specifically, we are going to be playing with some plugins, Cordova plugins. The title of the stream tonight is Plugging in Script with Cordova plugins. So we're going to do a quick recap, and we're going to dive right into it. I'm just going to take a quick second here to make sure I can see your comments. So on the right-hand side of your screen, beside the video, you can actually add a comment and chat with me live. So I'm going to try to keep that open. You can also tweet me at David West. You can see it at the bottom of the screen there, so just right down there. And yeah, that's pretty much all the housekeeping we need to do. This is our final episode for now. I'm looking to do a bonus episode later on in the month of February, but I'm going to tone it down a little bit. I got Prairie DevCon coming up. I'm going to be doing a conference at the beginning of March, and I want to make sure that I'm 100% rounded up for that. So this will it'll be a continuation because I had a nice request last time from Cecil, our viewer, to do a live stream on Cordova using web components, and that's actually something I've never tinkered with at all. And web components are something I've wanted to play with for a while, just never had a great idea to use them, and what better way to use them than in that. So anyway, let's get to business here. Let's get to business. So these are the notes we had from last week. So I'm going to get rid of all this. So recap. We built a responsive web UI responsive UI, so our responsive web design, our responsive web design. We applied those principles. Let's just say responsive. Let's just do that with jQuery Mobile. Now, what was jQuery Mobile from my previous life with it? It was meant really for mobile phones, and that's where it kind of ended. So seeing it actually work on a desktop setting and mobile, see if I can get my hands in here properly. Desktop and mobile was actually really useful for me, and I thought, let's keep fleshing that out. And then we ended up building this cool little app. So let's see if you can see that. You can see it here. So we got a real basic little thing here. We have a little filter. This is all what it is. You can do Excitebike. I put a little action thing in here. Got a little game page, and then of course I didn't have a back button. Now we actually deployed this as well to an Android phone and everything like that. Had all this kind of stuff working, and we also have, I think we may have cleaned it up though. Yeah, but no, we kept this in there just for the sake of it. We have media queries, so we can actually write custom media queries to deal with our different screen sizes. So if I'm using a desktop version versus I'm using a mobile version, whatever. So that's pretty cool, pretty powerful stuff. All HTML and CSS. And today we wanted to do some JavaScript magic. Now, the original plan was to actually tie this into a bunch of live data, and that's still my plan. But I started thinking, how is that any different than a regular set of JavaScript or using anything, doing anything anything JavaScript related at all? And I kind of opted out of that and it went down a completely different route. I wanted to look at the plugins, and I focused in on the plugins for Cordova. So we're actually going to add a feature that I think would link in at a later time if my crazy vision for all of this stuff kind of came to life. But what we're going to do is we're going to add camera support to our beautiful browser app here. I know, right? I mean, it's not what I would call the most realistic feature you would add, but I actually do have a purpose for it. I'm going to adjust my camera just a pinch. There we go. It's a bit better. We are going to add camera feature. Now, a use for this would be something like if you want to do a barcode scanner. But I mean, that's actually, sorry, wrong. You want to take let's say you want to take a picture of somebody, or in our case for the video game database, I got a high score on an arcade or a buddy's, whatever, on a buddy's console. I want to take a picture of the screen to commemorate the occasion. Or maybe I'm doing an inventory and I want to take a picture of the video game collection that I have, like prove that I've got, street cred. It's like Reddit. If there's no picture, it didn't happen. So yeah, I have a crazy, this is my Nintendo World Championship cart, man. Just take a picture. Click, I was holding it. It's awesome. So we want to take a picture of that. Now, we want to add that to our application. And our browser platform does support the camera. Now, we're going to look at a couple other things. So we're going to look at the network one. But I'm also going to start talking about some of the limitations, because this is actually the first time looking at a part of Cordova where I've actually seen some of that wall that people have kind of warned about, oh, the performance and oh, this. Performance, not so much, but I could definitely see some of the limitations. And I'm going to try to work those out at a later time, but we can get going with this. So let's go look at our existing code. So I'm going to close this down. And you can see I got my Vim here going on. Let's just make sure. Do I have... I just want to see if I have Zoom it running or not. No, I do not. Let's get Zoom it running real quick. Sorry about that. Get that going. Just because I like being able to zoom in. It's a presentation thing. And I know I can see it, but maybe you can't. Maybe you can't. And you know what? That ain't cool. That just ain't cool, yo. C drive? There we go. There we go. Double click. Get that thing up and running. We'll close that down. Get rid of that edit scene thing too. So yeah, while that's going up, let's just take a look at our code. So our code is actually it's the same thing we did before. But what we want to do today is we're going to get out of it index.html. And what we want to do is we want to add some new code. So I'll be real blunt with you. This is the script unscripted part of it. I really didn't expect this. I thought we could tile this stuff together because I really wanted to do a whole section on reading a configuration file, and I wanted to do all this stuff. But I think that's just standard JavaScript. And my experiment was right. It was standard JavaScript, and for the live stream, I wanted to focus in on Cordova specific things. What makes Cordova special? What makes it different? And that's what we're going to focus on. First of all, we're going to get rid of this awesome line of mess. But what we'll do is we are going to do something a bit silly. What we're going to actually do is we're going to go here, and we're just going to hide this. input. You know, we'll just do this. I'll just flat out cheat. Don't do this at home. Style is equal to display none. There we go. It's a good way of doing things. So now we're gonna have all this extra space, and that's what I want to kind of focus on. I'm actually gonna do it with this too, because I know that I wanted to build on the app, and that was the original plan. But this is script unscripted, Joe. You don't know what's gonna happen tomorrow. You don't know what's gonna happen next week. I could change it all up on you again. I was getting all comfortable with my code and my little project, had my nice little GitHub repository set up for everything, and now I'm just out the window. We're going back to like tinkering territory, which is actually kind of what I like. It's a little bit of what I prefer. Lets us kind of experiment a bit with everything. So let's take a look at this. So what I want to do is let's envision this. So I want to have a section. We're just going to put a section in there, and it's going to have an ID, and we're just going to call it images. Okay, so we want to add to that camera. So that's what we're going to put in here. And we're going to add another piece later. But for now, we're just going to have this kind of block element. That's where we're going to put our image that we save. So no big deal. That's what we're going to do. So let's save that, and then what we're going to do is we're going to tie this into. We're going to open up JS was it main? Where am I? Let's just do explore. Okay, so JS main. There we go. So okay, we didn't really do much with respect to JavaScript. Now, here's the thing that I started to work with, and I'll actually show you, because I got a lot further, but I wanted to show you the basics here. I built this, I used jQuery, so I'll zoom in, move this thing over so you guys can see it a little bit clearer. Perfect. So, what you can see here, I have the on-device ready function. This is what gets called. You can see the add event listers happens up here, so bind events. And then the device ready event is a Cordova event that gets fired when the DOM is ready to go, and more specifically that the Cordova JavaScript is actually loaded. So this gets fired, and that means your plugins, your APIs, your everything is set up. And now what I had done is actually got this JSON work. So I'm using JSON. So again, like I added a settings.json file to my project in the data directory. It copied over without any issue. And then I go and I read the data, and that's pretty much it. That's all I do. And I had a little message in there. And then, so where I went with this was like, okay, what if I have an API key? You know, I want to actually add to that. I want to be able to set these kind of security pieces with my compiled app and blah, blah, blah. And again, that ended up getting down that line of, okay, well, now I'm just building a JavaScript application. Let's talk about the limitations a little bit. Let's get into the real world stuff here. So what we are going to do is we're going to add to this. Let's just get to the end here of this line. Open this up, and what we want to do is we're gonna have a camera. Now, before we even do this, now that I think about it, let's actually get out of live, and we're gonna go to not that one. Sorry, hopefully I'm not making anyone nauseous. Let's go ahead and jump over here for a sec. Perfect. So what we're going to do now is we're actually going to tie this in over... if I can get the right screen highlighted. I'm clicking on the command line. Huzzah. Okay. So from here, you actually want to add a plugin. So what we're going to do is we're going to do... So if I do Cordova plugin add or list. So we have little load. Hypothetically, it should be empty. Always forget I gotta warm up Cordova and Node.js before I start streaming. I always kind of like wait to the last minute and I don't do anything, but such is life. Hopefully y'all are still just gonna tune in for a bit. There you go. So I actually have the file API installed. So here's an interesting thing about the Cordova plugins. Although there's a great list of them and you can actually get them out here. Now I'll zoom in a little bit. You can get a whole list of them at, if you go to, what is my link here? You go to, I think it's cordova.apache.org, and you look up the API references, a whole whack of them. We can actually look at it later. But a very limited subset of them are actually supported by the browser platform, which I found fascinating. Their focus, the browser platform is actually a new thing since 4.0. 4.0 is when they kind of really kind of took that seriously, and they included that right into Cordova. So you can actually just do, you know, browser, as we did, you know, we did Cordova, browser, or platforms, sorry. Platforms, add, browser. This is actually the first version that was really that easy, and it was a big deal. And this was actually launched in September, at the end of September of 2014. So this is actually pretty new stuff. You know, and it's pretty impressive what they've managed to do. But now not all the plugins work. So what for us though, we do know the camera plugin is actually one that is supported. It's actually probably one of the cooler ones. So if I do Cordova, plugins, add, and then you're going to want to add the plugin URL or the reference for it. Now you can get that at, I think it's plugins. There's a plugin directory. You can do a Google search on it for, or a Bing search, whichever you prefer. I'm not biased. It's the Cordova plugin library website. And you can actually look them up, or you have a whole list of them under the reference table for the documentation section. So it's ars.apache.cordova.camera. We're gonna zoom out a bit again. Camera. They use the reverse domain syntax. It's a very Java-centric kind of thing, but it works because you know where it's from, right? So you can see it's downloading, fetching it via the plugin registry, using the npm, downloading it, and you can just download it for browser, and it's downloading it for Windows. Now here's the fun part. So let's actually just look at this. Now that we've added this, nothing's actually changed in our application from what I understand, other than what gets built. A lot of the stuff a lot of magic happens when we do a run. So if I do Cordova run, let's just do browser because I want to see the log. And of course we get our good old error message. So games, that's not a big deal. What we'll do is we'll open up the DevTools. Not full screen, but DevTools. Let's try that again. All right. What we can do is I'm going to pull this thing out. Did I close it by accident? I'm not sure what I did there. Oh, it's over on the other screen. So actually a bunch of errors showed up. Cannot set property. Oh, you know what? We have to remove our old code because the JavaScript's exploding. So hold on a second. Go down to here. Delete that. We'll just call that a day, and then we'll just reboot this. Now, actually, another thing that I found interesting. Now, this is all part. I'll share the URL with you. There's actually a great blog post by. I just got a comment back from the gentleman. Where is it? Raymond Camden. So if I bring this up, I might as well just bring this up. Why not? You know, why not? Let's load this sucker up. Okay. Now Raymond Camden did a whole blog post on what is support. That's actually what's making this possible. Like, I was hitting some real serious brick walls before, and was getting quite frustrated with Cordova. But it turns out I was using the wrong plugins. I was using all the wrong plugins. So ones that you'd think are supported, like the notification one, not so much. It's not supported for the browser, which I thought was kind of odd. But again, they got the camera working, so I'll take that as a compromise. So let's take our DevTools again. I wish DevTools would just stay open. See, here we go. We'll zoom in on that. So what you can see here, this is what you're going to see with plugins, which I like. I like seeing this stuff. Zoom in. Adding proxy for camera. This is what's executing when once the plugin is loaded, it's letting us know, adding the proxy for a plugin. For every one of the plugins that we add that are supported, this is going to show up. This is what actually was a determining factor. So if I go back here, and sorry, I'm going to zoom out again, and I am going to close this down. Yes, and we're going to do Cordova plugin. Or plugins, add, what is it, org.apache.cordova.dialogs. Dialogs? There we go, yeah. This is the one I was really trying to work with. I'm a big fan of the goofy little hello world thing, a little pop-up or something, because that's really kind of how I got into computer science. Was hello world and hello just pop-up things always just blew my mind at the beginning when I was starting the code for the first time, because I could change the name of, I could say hello Dave, you know. I was like, ooh, that's so clever, I'm such a genius. But turns out it's a pretty common example. In any case, you can see it's installing it. It says it's installing it for browser and installing it for Windows. So it's trying to install it. Now, when I run it, this is what happens. I will show you the magic. And this is part of the debugging thing that came with the browser. So I think this is a bit of a limitation. See, you can see here adding proxy for camera, but you don't see adding proxy for dialogues. And that's how you know this isn't ready to work here. Because what you should be able to do, and this is what I thought was confusing. Let's actually zoom in here. A lot of this stuff adds to your APIs. The navigator.camera object is now created. This is what we're going to be using to do our camera stuff. Picture source type, all this kind of thing. But if I go back here and I do navigator dot, what is it? Notification. It actually gives me an object. This is the object that actually they describe in the APIs and everything. Alert, beep, confirm, prompt. It's all actually there. So it is loading something, but the interface to work with the browser, I guess, isn't tying it together. This is where I'm like, I am actually considering trying to fork this thing and just look at some of this code. And I think, you know, how can that hurt? So I wanted to kind of point that out, that this is part of the thing of debugging with plugins, is you want to make sure that when you're downloading your plugins that first of all it's supported, and then before you even start coding, make sure that it loads the proxy so you have a way of actually accessing it. And then, because it gets a JavaScript interface, and then it has different platform-specific modules, right? So you're talking about, oh, this thing is popping in my ear constantly. 1 second here. There we go. What it'll do is it has a JavaScript interface, if I understand it right, and the different providers, so Windows, all them, will provide like a component that fits into all those different pieces, right? So there'll be an Android component, or there'll be this, or the people that are implementing the plugin are going to go, okay, well, I'm going to implement the Android plugin. I'm going to implement the Windows plugin, Windows Phone, iOS, etc., etc. So you build all these pieces, and it's all the JavaScript interface. Now it acts as as a proxy over here. I'm blocking the mic. As a proxy to just kind of, you know, hey, always access this one thing, one bit of code, doesn't matter where it goes. The rest of it happens magically. But if there is no other piece, there isn't a way of identifying that. Yeah, the proxy doesn't end up getting loaded up. That's the only way to really know. But the object is still there. It still enhances your JavaScript. The JavaScript interface is still applied to JavaScript. So again, just a thing to note that you should really know that. There's only, I think, 5 of them. If I look and see my blog post here that I was talking about. Oh, sorry, I'm moving my mouse around and making everyone nauseous. Let's just take a quick look here. I'm gonna grab this URL and pop it open for a sec. Let's see what this looks like again. Oh, of course, I am binging an entire URL. Clever. Yeah, load up. There we go. What do we got? Camera, the device motion, the accelerometer, device orientation, so the compass, and the network information module. So network information is a really interesting one too. I tinkered with that one. The coolest one is the camera. So I'm going to start with that one, and all the other ones work at the same. So if we have enough time, which I hope we do because I keep on blathering on, we'll go into that. So let's go into making some code. So we've loaded up the plugin. We have that working. Oh, let's bring up our good old Vim here. So let's do that. So here's what we want to do. I'm going to bring up my notes here so I can whiz through this a little bit. I'll walk you through some of the code. If I need to, I'll just paste it in afterwards to speed it along. So there's a couple things we need to do. So first of all, we're going to add a button. So we're going to make some assumptions. So button, camera, and on the click event, we're going to do something. We don't know what yet, but we know it's going to be a function. Here's going to be our handler. We're not doing any black magic yet. Nothing too special. And what do we got here? Okay, so how this kind of works is like I said before, it adds to the what is it actually adds to the navigator object. So there's actually, like we said, there's a navigator dot camera object, and on that there's a get picture function, and that's what we're going to call. Now that takes a success callback, so on success, on error, and then config options. That's really how it works. So if we do, let's say var on, or let's just do function on success, what it passes us is some image data. Now here's another little catch, a little caveat, and this is some of the stuff that, like, I'm not gonna call these shortcomings because it's a brand new component inside of Apache Cordova, and this is, I would say, Cordova is easily the most robust of those options that we had talked about last time. Between Ionic, it covers the largest number of platforms, and it's purely open source. Like, and it's really platform agnostic, and there isn't a lot of tooling around it, but it's the guts of all of these other frameworks, really. So it covers a wide variety of pieces of platforms. Sorry. So when we have all this, this isn't what I wouldn't call a shot, but it is something to consider when you're looking at building an application using Cordova, because clearly, if I want to use all these really rich and powerful features that are available on native devices that are clearly on the desktop as well through HTML5, but aren't implemented yet, that's a challenge. You're going to have to either adjust, or you're going to have to start writing a lot of customized code based on, you're going to have to support your browser separately, which is pretty much the story now. It's not a big deal, but it is something to really consider going from, if you're going from a web approach, going from a website into Cordova, like there's a lot of conversion that'll go in. So on success, we got our image data. The image data, as I was kind of bringing me back to my point, the image data is actually just the data URI. So if you're not familiar with the data URI, let's actually do our config options here. I'll show you what the config options. There's a whole whack of them. So we'll do config, and it's just a JSON object that we're dealing with. And in there, we kind of decide what we're going to do. So one of those variables is a quality. Now, honestly, it says 50 is where it's defaulted at. Honestly, I couldn't see a difference between 50, 100, or 1. It's supposed to be the quality of the image on compression and stuff like that. So I don't fully understand what the deal is with that, but it doesn't seem to be doing much, at least with respect to Chrome. And Chrome is the only one I can get to work on for now in the browser. So that's just not poking at Chrome. I'm just saying it's the one that it would work properly. I couldn't get it to work well in Firefox. And IE doesn't seem to support. It doesn't support the media capture API yet, as far as I could look at when I looked it up earlier. Okay. So from there, let's just make sure I have my lovely config. There we go. Now here's the one that is a default for the browser. So you just said the destination type. Destination type. There we go. And there's three different options you have. You have a file URL to bring it back, or a file URI, a data URL, and another one that I don't remember right now. I can look it up after, but it's in the API. Now, for us, for the browser, you're only allowed to get data URLs because you can't natively just start writing things to a phone or a device or a web browser. Specifically on a web, you can't just start writing straight to the device. It's not an installed application; it's a web application, right? So that's expected, but it's something you got to consider. And we're still not going to worry about that. It's because the data URL, we can work with that. It's just a base 64 encoded string. We can work with that. So destination type underscore data URL. Sweet. And that's the only two. There's a whole bunch of other configuration options. I'm not going to cover them because I didn't really find them that useful, other than these ones are the most important ones. But that's what we're going to start with. So on success, we want to add to our images thing. So we had that before. So let's actually do something with that. So let's do images. Let's get this right. Let's not add a capital. Let's not have any capitals. How about that? Images. I'm just going to append an image. I'm just going to append an image tag to the to our element in our HTML. So source is equal to, and I'll add this data. I wrote this down because I know it's kind of wonky. Image JPEG. So we want the MIME type. Then we do semicolon base 64 comma, and then that kind of closes that off, and we want to add the image data. And then I want to close my string, and we'll do that. And we're just going to append it. The end. Now, the real trick. So now we have this. So, hooray. So let's actually run this. Because, and also I guess I should probably, we'll do, where'd my cursor go? There we go. Let's write this, BD, we'll get rid of that. And what we're going to do here is I'm going to go to the end of this line, open, and we're going to do button. First of all, ID is equal to BTN camera. Then we're going to do class is equal to UI-BTN. Is that what it is for jQuery mobile? What did I didn't write down my HTML. I didn't think I need to. Take a picture. We'll see what that looks like. But we got the ID right anyway, so let's save that. And now we'll run it. So you also, what's interesting, you have to close down Chrome completely to kind of clear this up, because you got to remember it's doing a whole compilation whenever I write this, and it's not a browser app in the traditional sense. Like when we edit code, it needs to be compiled out again. I'm wondering if I can tinker with that a little bit more as I get more familiar with Cordova later on, and build my original plan was actually to see if I could do a build script on this. That was kind of the original concept for this whole exploration. I was having a lot of fun with Grunt.js and build scripts and stuff. Now it's kind of like, I don't know if that matters, to put it lightly. Here, we got our take a picture button, so it looks like I guessed right. Guessed. I remembered. I'm that clever. Added proxy, let's take a picture. Awesome, hey? Pretty impressive. We clicked on it. Okay. I know what's going on. Do you? You know what? I'm gonna actually ask that question. Do you know what's going on? If you do, you're smarter than me, because it took me a little bit of time to figure this one out. Let me just bring up the question section. Just in case there's some questions, I want to make sure that I'm around. So just like I said, if you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the chat window there on YouTube. It's just over on the right hand side of your screen. I'll just add to it right now. Hello, chat. There you go. Boom. Chatted. So if you have any questions, try to drop them in there. You can also tweet me at David West. I'll tinker over to that, whatever that means. I'll move over to that in a little bit. But anyway, let's take a look at our JavaScript. So nothing really happened here. Everything's still here. Let's make sure we're hitting our thing here. We'll reload, have a breakpoint now, take a picture. Oh, we're not hitting it. Oh, that's because it's a var. Oops. What's wrong with you? Why are you giving me an error? What's with the error? I'm confused. It doesn't like something. Is it because is it because I haven't defined the on error thing? Am I missing a semicolon? How sad. So this is that while I fix this silly problem. Let's just go down here. Okay. Where's my missing semicolon? This is one of those things where although I do genuinely appreciate Vim and using the command line and that whole ball of wax, I don't miss some of the things like autocomplete and stuff like that. I just think some of this stuff is just a pain, and that's where your IDEs really become useful. So just shout out to IDEs in general, I guess. Let me just take a quick look at my notes. I'm clearly missing something that I don't realize I'm missing. Closing parentheses. Look at that. Because it's an append. Let's click over here. Go to end. Insert. Close that. There we go. Okay, let's try this again. run in the browser. See, there's always that debate. Should you code in a presentation or should you not? I have both sides are valid. I think it really depends on your presentation, and as long as your audience cares. I think for what I'm doing here, I think it's critical that we do some live streaming code, because I mean, I would love to talk about it too, just like I'd like to talk about video games, but let's see here. On air is not defined. Okay, so let's just quickly define an on air function. That's what that makes sense if that happened. So we'll do function on air passes an error object, actually a very specific error object, so it's actually kind of useful. So we can do alert camera error plus error.type, I think is one of the things. So we'll just do that, just something simple. And let's move this over like so. Bam. Okay, let's just make sure this worked. Close. Not scroll lock, but we want, where's F12? F12, not F11. Why can't I can't use buttons. Can't use buttons or keys in real life, it seems. Take a picture. Okay, cool. So if you didn't see that, that showed up top there. File protocol, or file, wants to use your camera and microphone. Allow, deny, learn more. This is kind of the standard procedure for giving access to this. They've already said, like, when you want to use, with HTML5, you want to use an API like that, you have to ask the explicit permission. And this is an allow or deny thing. So if I click deny, it's going to throw the error. So now I want to click allow. We'll get out of this. Now, ooh. Test. Well, that was unexpected. We did get some feedback there, so okay. Well, if you didn't see it on the tab itself, so let's actually load that up again. On the tab itself, it actually had a little recording button. So this is clearly another little issue. Now, I did read about this in Raymond Camden's blog post, and that little red circle that was up top here. So let's bring that up. There was here. You know what? We'll do one of these. There's a little red dot here. Okay, and that's actually what Chrome does to demonstrate that this browser tab is recording you right now. So that's actually kind of a neat thing. I'll give it that. That's actually kind of cool. And I mean, all of them have to do. They have to kind of notify you that something's going on. So when I click allow, it's actually using. So this is actually one of those things. It's actually using the microphone. Turns the microphone on because my speakers were echoing. That's how I could hear that. It wasn't actually in my earpiece because I was using the default setup. So I apologize if there was any echo there for you guys, or a little reverb kind of thing going on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mute my microphone because I don't want the microphone turned on. And what we're going to do is I'm going to take a quick picture, and then I'm going to show you the change that actually happens. I wish I could show you actually. Now I'm concerned. So let's just see in here. It's going to go to you guys for a sec. Maybe someone's if anyone's there. Let's see here. Well, hopefully there wasn't too much echo for you. Anyway, I'm gonna quickly do this. Mute it again. Mute my microphone. And mute my speakers are already muted. So hopefully there's no real serious reverb for you guys. But if there is, I apologize. But we're gonna take a picture, and I'm gonna highlight what's going on here. Now, if you can see this, and I hope you can hear me and I'm not causing too much echo, there's a video element and there's a button element here. This is what actually got injected into the application. it actually it's gonna what it would show is actually a video of my webcam, and it would show because my laptop webcam is now turned on, and the button is actually to take that capture. So it's fascinating to actually see that kind of thing working together. But we can't see it because we're using jQuery Mobile. So we're gonna have to use a mutator object. We're gonna have to use look at the, what are they called? I want to call them mutation objects. What are they called? A mutation observer. A mutation observer in HTML5 to actually watch our DOM and get us the elements so we can put them where we actually want. So we're gonna do deny on this one. See, we have our error. And what I'll do is I'm actually gonna kill this thing. All right, close that down. Close. Great. So I hope there wasn't too much echo. I guess I'll find out afterwards when I actually record or when I listen to the audio again. But yeah, so that's what we're gonna do. We want to listen to it. We want to use and like I said, a mutator object or a mutation observer to set this. So what we're hearing here, right, is we got it wired up, but we need, because we're doing more than just a complete bare bones example, I need to set up the camera. So set up camera. And I'm just going to take my code right out of here. Because I'm not going to go through it in too much depth, because this is standard JavaScript. Go to the MDN, the Mozilla Developer Network, if you're interested in any of this stuff. Here, I'm just going to write down where we are. We did camera plugin installed. And now we're doing setup using mutation observer. Now this is actually a neat thing, because I have never used the mutation observer up until pretty much today, or yesterday, I guess, when I set this stuff up last night. Pardon me. And so what you want to do is it's just like, again, it's just regular, I'm going to call it the watcher. And our watcher is a new mutation observer. These are implemented across from IE11 right across. IE11 implemented them with their most recent version. So that's a good thing. And now we just want to create that, and we want it to pardon me. Where's my notes here? Okay, so what it takes, the observer, it actually takes a callback, a mutation callback. So new function, and then in there it actually provides us with mutations. So if we go off and change a bunch of stuff, now we're gonna set whole thing up. Oh, and it also takes, my mistake, mutations. There's that. Yeah, takes this, but what it also takes is a mutation config. It takes a JSON up to actually to set up for options. So if I do, let's do var mutation config, and look at what I wrote down. There's a whole lot of options again, but I'm just going to kind of whip through the two that we care about. We want the child list, which is actually asking it to look at the child list of elements that it actually like look at the whole tree, pretty much, if I remember how it worked correctly. So we want that to be true, and we also want to look at the character data. Again, I'm very new to this, so I apologize if I'm getting it all wrong, but it is a really cool feature. I like the idea of just being able to watch certain elements for change and then reacting to those changes on the DOM side of things, not on an event level side. Now, there's probably a very good argument about that could be had, but at the end of the day, I think it's a pretty cool feature for monitoring UI and reacting to changes in UI, especially when the UIs can get really complicated really quickly, so observing any changes to the DOM is a good, at least for a debug tool at the very least, but is also good for dragging and dropping things. If you drop an element into something, you get a really generic way of observing changes in your UI. I'm gonna unmute this. Is this still playing? Sorry, I just want to see if my tunes are still playing. There we go. Okay, so let's keep going here. So the watcher, and our watcher is what it's gonna do it's going to go through the list of mutations. So we're going to have it do mutations. We're going to have it go through a for each, and for a function m. All I want it to do is that we know that there's only going to be 2 elements added to the body, because this is the body. We're also going to have to tell it where we want this thing to, what we want it to observe. We'll do that shortly when we actually turn this thing on. But what we want to do is we want to take every element that it gets added, and we want to inject it into what we're going to do is we're going to say, we're going to do this, and it's going to be, we're going to call this we're going to call it the camera. This is literally the camera that we're dealing with at this point. And we're going to just append those elements to it. So append m, and there's an added, and for every m in the mutations array, we have an added nodes property, and we are going to do the first element that it adds. I realize this is not the cleanest of all the code that I've ever done in my life. I am fully aware of that. You can beat me senseless about it afterwards. But this is actually going to be kind of a cool thing, because it has to pick up those DOM elements and plop them over here so we actually see them, so we can use them inside of our jQuery. And the mutation observer is going to actually get us right into the thick of it, which I thought was really kind of a neat discovery. Now we need to turn this thing on. So first of all, actually, before I forget, let's just finish up our code. We'll do the markup afterwards. So in here, we have our on success. We have our event header. This is where we really want it to. We want it to actually start observing. We don't want it to be observing all the time. We know that it only happens when our camera is, when you click that allow button, it injects elements into there. So let's see. We want to actually add this here. We want to turn it on. So you do observer. So watcher dot observe, and you pass it a target. And for us, our target is our body tag, I guess, isn't it? Yeah, so we can do document. Let's just do it that way. Document dot query selector, and that's going to be body. Sweet. Okay, that's a thing. And we wanted to do that, and we also want it to take our config. So mutation config. So you can see here, if you set up the same mutation observer, you can reuse it a number of times. You can attach it in a number of different spots, pass it in different configurations. I didn't really experiment much with this because, again, this is just a regular JavaScript thing. This isn't Cordova magic. The magic is really the fact that it actually just all works, and we can actually use these things across mobile devices as well. But anyway, we have our mutation config. And now over here, we want to disconnect it when we don't want it anymore. So we'll do watcher.disconnect. Like that. I want this. What did I do here? Why? What am I doing wrong? Is this the right? There we go. I want it over here too. I guess I'm getting a little bit more confident with Vim, but at the same time getting less confident. So, okay, so we got this all set up. Let's open up our index.html. Alright, let's actually just close this, and then we'll go here. And on top of our... No, not here. Let's see. Oh. Section ID. We'll set this one to be camera. Close it up. Save it. And let's give this a second shot. So, Cordova, run, browser. Yo. So again, I apologize if this is going to echo again, because I really just want to be as quick as I can. We'll see. Now, what we should see is when I click take a picture, we should see a video element that we saw show up over on our developer tools a moment ago will actually just will actually show up this time around. So we'll actually see how that works, along with a button that says capture. We'll click the capture button, and then it should, if I go to my source, we'll have it go, it'll hit our breakpoint over here. So images.amend, and then it's going to inject that data into there. So let's take a picture. We'll see how this goes. Hopefully it doesn't echo. Let's give it a shot. Ready? Here we go. Oh, I got a JavaScript error somewhere, don't I? Uncaught, unexpected token, illegal. Ugh. Nothing like live code, hey? Okay. Main.js. Line 40. What did I do wrong? Oh, $. That's what it is. Okay, let's try that again. Round 74. All right. Okay, ready? Let's just bring this up again. See if it blew up. No, we got no error. Adding proxy camera, so we're good to go. Okay, so hopefully this doesn't echo. Here we go. And here we go. Okay, so it seems to have hit over here without any problems. So I'm going to push play on that. It doesn't like that. What didn't it like? Cannot read property 0 of undefined. Huh. Try that again. Allow. So it's curious. This is hitting our mutation observer. So what is hitting M? Let's actually bring this up. I'm going to zoom in so we can actually see this live. So y'all can help debug this with me. So here's our mutation record. This is the object. So added nodes. What did I call it? I called it something wrong, didn't I? Added notes. Not the same thing at all. Let's get out of this. Sorry. And we're going to close that down. Okay. So if you hear the music dim there, that's because it's muting. I don't know. Hopefully that wasn't too squeaky for you guys. But what it was actually doing was actually toning it down because I was listening to it was recording my microphone, I guess. So hopefully that didn't cause you too much issue. So let's actually change this. Oh, no, no, no. No, stop doing things. We don't do added nodes like that. Okay, let's try that again. And it looks like we're getting close on time here. We're gonna get this done before we're done here. But what I'll do quickly is I'll just plop a little bit of code in there if I can actually be quick about it. And I'll show you a little bit. I'll talk a little bit about the limitations of the network component. Let's see here. For each function, there we go. So we got our breakpoint, and let's take a picture. So here we go. It's gonna get silent again, so hopefully it doesn't mute me. Allow. Hits the breakpoint. It's gonna hover. Yeah, length 1. It's good. Play. Play. I don't see anything different. So, let's see here. So it's not actually adding it. What did I do wrong here? Camera, append to. Added nodes. Did I not do? It's not actually injecting it for whatever reason. Did I not? Oh, you know what I didn't do? I don't think I actually saved the whole thing. Let's just take a quick look here. Let's take this. Camera, images, right underneath there. So, camera and images. So if I go to our app, I'm actually just going to do one of these things. Highlight it. No, it has a camera and it has the sections. The take a picture button. It should just, what we're trying to do is we're trying to inject that stuff into here. So the real question is, why is it not working? I had this working earlier. This one specific part. Did I do something weird? Let's see here. Take a look at my notes. Yeah, that's good. Close this. Try it one more time here. Take a picture. Allow. See, it's adding. See, now we have multiple video elements here. So if I actually take. So here, what we'll do is I'm going to take this. And I'll actually just show you what it looks like. So let's do style, or let's do display none. So there you go. You can see here, this is actually, oh look, it's actually the video is working. So you can see here, it's actually taking a look at that's my webcam over there. This is you guys, that's my other webcam on my laptop. So if I click on capture, hits this. Let's actually do capture on both of them. So now let's go back. We will take our very awesome to the max display off. So it's actually not injecting anything, which is strange. You think it would. Images and camera. What am I doing wrong? I'm doing something funny, clearly. I just don't know what it is. That's how good I am. I'm so good at code that I can outsmart myself. I don't know if the word is hero. I don't like to use it often, but you've seen it actually work there. I'll do it one more time just to kind of show you I'll show you the code this time. So let's actually take this and we'll do display none. So you can see here, and what we'll do is I got my sources over here. So we got images append, and it's going to add the image. So we go capture. So it's looking like it's trying to capture it. Doesn't really do anything. I'm just curious. I'm going to go to the console. Let's do document. It is called images, right? Like, I'm not a complete nutso. Let's see. Yeah, section ID. Oh my goodness. And this is one of those reasons. Here, let's do play. Let's just close this down for a sec. So what happened here is I got my selector. I do this often. This is one of my silliest bugs. I get my selector query syntax mixed up with my DOM syntax. It's just one of those things. I'm writing camera with a hashtag or a hash in front of it. So we do save. Okay. Try this again. Nothing like live code, telling you. All right, take a picture. Allow. There we go. So now it's taking a picture over there. Hello. This is actually a video element, and I don't know why, because it might be that there's so much stuff going on right now that it actually freezes up. This is a thing that I haven't sorted out yet, but you can see it's actually a video element. If I bring up the F12 developer tools, you can see here, if I select it, there's our video width. Now if I go to my sources, I want to break on this so I can actually show you a little bit of that. We do capture, so we break into here. Zoom in now. So this is what we ended up getting. We ended up getting with this big data URL. It's this gigantic superstring. So I'll move it over here and then hover so you can get some of the... You can see how big this thing is. It's massive. And if I scroll it, it's huge. This is our base64 encoded string of data. So what we can do is, if you look at our code, right? I mean, I didn't really walk through it before. We set it as a data URL. So we say data, image, JPEG, base64, comma, that string, and we're done. Like the end. So hypothetically, this should take an image, add this image tag to it. So let's zoom out. Push play. Ta-da! Look at that. It is a picture. Now, again, another new limitation that I found. I couldn't figure this one out. I did ask Raymond Camden. I did get a response. I just haven't been able to reply. He's actually really good at responding on that. I was really impressed. I was within a couple of hours because I thought of it on my just before I walked out the door at work. So, looking at this, one of the big pieces here is that you can see it actually clearly cuts off part of the picture. And if I actually look at this element that's been added, you can just see it's just a giant string. So let's zoom in on that. It's just a giant string here that we're dealing with. Now, because of that, I don't know what the reason is. Maybe it can't load that much string data. Like, I don't know what the problem is. The little bit that I did look up, like, there isn't a limit on the number of the size of a string, other than like 512 megs or something. Like, it's very good. Chrome's very good with that. So I'm not sure what the problem is, but it does cut this off. But now that we know it works, the last thing I want to try doing, other than this, so we can just take another picture as much as we want, keep on adding them, capture, and it keeps on. Well, that one actually didn't add anything, so we'll do allow. Hello. There we go. Capture. There we go. A little bit different. There's a bit of my hand. There's a dead one here that doesn't matter. You can see there. But you can see they're all 300 by 150, and I don't know why that is. So I think there's definitely some work that needs to be done here. But that being said, it's still pretty cool that we took a picture with our browser. Now let's do the real experiment. I have not tried this. Yes, that we're going to do Cordova run Windows. The last thing I actually want to do is you can actually run it directly off of the Windows phone. I have a developer access unlocked phone. So we could actually tie this together, and we could actually do something where we could actually run my application live on my cell phone. Maybe I'll get that going for next time. I'd like to really give that a shot, but for now I want to just get it running, and we'll see. So it's deploying to the emulator, uninstalling. There we go. Installing application. Fingers crossed. Very soothing music. Oh, okay, can't install. I always forget that. So let's just open up a new. It can't do it with regular privileges, or with admin privileges. So I'll have to load it up separately. So we're gonna go to E. We're gonna go E. CD, David, source, VGDB, and then we do Cordova run Windows. Yeah, it's a neat thing that, I mean, for the Windows applications, it actually makes sure that it's not, that you don't have admin privileges, because it's expecting most people not to have them, which I think is a really kind of cool thing. Okay. It's not working. It's actually crashing for some reason. So we're having that same issue we were having before. So if I cannot get it to load. Huh, interesting. So I don't know what the issue is, but again, this was the experiment, and so let me just take my final thoughts here. So we're a bit over time. So a couple final thoughts on Cordova so far. So the story is great. The idea of being able to take my web code, my web skills, and then apply them across platforms. It's clearly not as seamless as I would like it to be. I think there's a lot of fine tuning that you need to figure out and tie into. So you can see the basics work. I think that's a really good starting point for the majority of some simple data apps out there. So if you are reading files, or you're loading up files, or you're sending a JSON request to get data and then display it in an app, if it's just basically a reading application, I think you've got a lot of potential there. I think the weakness to it, of course, is that the debug story isn't consistent. It's not a very great one so far. At least I haven't found a great way of doing it. At least without running the individual emulators and then debugging each individual platform, which you'd still have to do, but I'd like just kind of a global debug that says, like, I want to just run this for everything. I want like kind of a Cordova dev environment, essentially. But that's just not there yet. Ripple, I understand, is a good way of getting that done, but I have not installed that yet or got that working. It's a little bit, it has a bit of a, it looks like a very powerful tool, but it doesn't look like it's a trivial setup. So that as well, I think there's some good stuff. I'm going to do a blog post on this. Likely, maybe not tonight, but I'd like to get it up for next week and just kind of get something up there, some initial thoughts. Because I really think this is a really good framework. I do want to keep using this. I do want to see what else I can do with it, because first of all, the price is right. The platforms are endless, and for basic applications, I think it's good. And it does have some of that really powerful functionality. The browser piece, I think, is more almost like a debug story rather than a production application. The fact that I'd have to write specialized code detecting my platform for things like notification or media capture, not camera. Camera and media capture are very different. I was having some weirdness with the network API stuff. I don't know. I think there's a ways to go on the browser side, but I can't fault it for the other stuff that it's actually brought to the table with respect to being able to compile out an app that's HTML that I can just send out jQuery requests, pull them back in, have a responsive UI, and then just leverage that. So, you know what? Ultimately, not that bad. I'm not going to complain about it. I think it's actually pretty good. So, so with that, I'm going to call it quits here, everyone. We're pretty much at time here. Oh wow, I'm over time, in fact. I always go over by a little bit. So, thank you for joining. This is going to be the last one for a little bit. I'm planning on doing another stream in the middle of February, hopefully on Web Components. That's the plan. I will get another thing up on Web Components one way or another, because Cecil requested it. You're going to get that. That's just going to go down. So, we're going to get the Web Component thing going. I'm also presenting at Prairie DevCon, so I appreciate if you want to come by. Definitely come by, check it out. It'll be a good time. And I'll be tweeting about that, so let's just put that up on my Twitter here. Boop. Get hold of me at twitter.com/DavidWest. I know it's a very original handle, but again, throw me along there. Follow me if you can. Follow my videos on YouTube. I'm going to keep going with the YouTube thing. The experiment of doing Script Unscripted was really great. I had a good time doing it. I'm going to do a couple more videos in the short term about some dev stuff, and then I'm going to move into some more game-related things, some video game stuff, not just video game, but video game and code, and talking about that from my business mentality, I guess. So we're going to do a little bit of fun stuff with that. So please feel free to follow me on Twitter, subscribe to me on YouTube. It's always appreciated. And with that, thank you so much for joining me tonight and for the whole series. Whether you clicked on this, whether you're watching it live with me or whether you watched it later on, it's very appreciated. And again, I hope to see you soon. And make sure you reach out, follow me on Twitter, follow my blog, davidwest.com. You can see it at the bottom of the page. And until then, keep using Cordova, and thanks for playing.